Farragut for the trail, and that's the way we did Turkey Creek. The town of Farragut has the Turkey Creek Greenway, and the city of Knoxville has it where the town of Farragut leaves off, and it's a recorded easement for the benefit of those trails, and the town maintains the one in Turkey Creek. We don't.
I was going to say the problem in this particular case, and I'm trying to get at Noah's question, and you probably have a good answer for it, Jim, is that the ones he's talking about actually tie into the streets and the sidewalk network, whereas the one on Parkside Drive is a continuous run of greenway that doesn't connect into that.
Ruth, wouldn't that require an entire replat if you were going to dedicate new easements along the sidewalks? I mean, all of a sudden, isn't that a pretty complicated process?
Yeah, and I haven't really quite figured out how to accomplish it from the standpoint of this isn't just dealing with this subdivision, you're dealing with all subdivisions. And I'll use Bridgemore as an example. When you look at their overall network, they tie into the street system. Well, we accept a 20-foot maintenance and liability easement, but if the street serves as that connection, then are you then accepting the street, but you're making it private? So it makes it very problematic in that respect.
Talking about tonight?
No.
Okay,
This is
premature.
Yeah, it's premature too. Okay. This is really a yay or nay on the Planning Commission's part. If it's a nay, then it stops. If it's a yay, then we go to the next one, the next level of how do we deal with this situation.
Well, Ruth, that actually is a good comment for a question I have. Is this purely from the I guess I'll call it the legal perspective? Is it does the street have to be either 100% public or 100% private? And where I'm going with this is, I would think if I was a resident of the Cove, I don't think you're probably losing a lot of sleep if that gate's open during the day. I mean, your real intent is to have it closed at night. So if that's
correct.
I'm making an assumption.
That's correct.
So, but if we did that, is it possible to have a public street that closes for a certain time of day? I mean, for example, I'll just throw this out.
I have been told no.
Okay.
So I mean, but I'm just telling you what I have been told.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking, I really believe in the long run this is going to be one of those evolutionary things that we've had to deal with before on the Planning Commission. That's my own personal opinion. I understand all the concerns, and I understand both viewpoints, where the residents are at and the concerns of issues that have been brought up in the past with other developments saying, well, I didn't realize it was private. I'd like to think that could be addressed, but I think it would be beneficial and kind of a happy median, if you will, if it was possible to have the gates where they were required to be open from, I'm just pulling these times out of the air, from 6 in the morning until 10 at night, and then they could be closed from 10 to 6. The issues with the emergency vehicles and all that can be addressed with the latest technologies and so forth. But I'm just curious, I think over time there's going to be more demands for this in spite of what happened in the past. So I'd like to see us look into if there is something other than it's a yay or a nay.
Ron, are you saying that leaving the roads public and see if there's somewhere under the TCA that a public road could be gated for some hours during the day is what you're saying?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
We have, thank you, we have our residents here, and I think some want to speak.
I ask Ruth a question first. Ruth, what specifically, when these other neighborhoods came forward, were they concerned about?
That they wanted their streets to be taken over?
Right.
Money. I mean, that's what it boils down to. It's a lot of money. You know, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen is going to be approving the contract next week for the street resurfacing, and you'll find, everybody knows it takes a whole lot of money to do not that much. Daryl calculated it's around $100,000 a mile to resurface. That's a chunk of change when you're thinking about what your financial responsibilities are. And, the issue with the safety, that you run into everywhere. Activity determines what is safe. So if you have sections of road where there's no houses on, doesn't matter where you're at, doesn't matter what neighborhood you're in, it has the potential to become a problem because there's no eyes on the street. We had a situation up in Saddle Ridge, for example, when that was extended, and kids figured out no one was watching, and that, they kind of took over one of the end of the cul-de-sacs. Well, as soon as the building permit started being issued, it was completely gone. But even on the front end, some of the neighbors went up and confronted him and said, hey, we can see you. We know you're back here. Those kids never came back again because they thought they weren't being watched. And so activity, and as more and more houses are constructed in this subdivision, it becomes more and more safe because there's more eyes on the road. There's more eyes on what goes on. If you gate everything, what does that say about the safeness of our community? Are we that, is there that much of a safety issue, or is it kind of normal whenever you have an area where it's vacant?
My name is Robert Lundgren. I'm a resident of the Cove, 11215 Matthews Cove Lane. You have most of the homeowners here tonight, I believe, and as Jim said, we've had multiple meetings. Thus far, we've had one dissenting voice. There may be more than that, but by and large, of the 74 lots, probably on the order of 70 to 73 of them are in favor. I'm not sure, Noah, that in any subdivision on the planet you're ever going to get unanimity on any topic. But I think we have the vast majority, and I'm sure the folks who are against it are going to talk about that. The vast majority are in favor of this, and we are in a unique situation. Everyone's been to Turkey Creek. Everyone's seen the activity out there. The cinemas are absolutely packed. And we don't know what the numbers are. We have an inordinate number of people in our neighborhood who are not supposed to be there. And as one of the letters you've received today indicates, one of our neighbors happens to go out regularly to walk the dogs constantly. We're dealing with kids in back parking in cul-de-sacs doing, not that any of us remember what kids do in cars, but doing whatever they do in cars and cul-de-sacs and creating issues for us. It has really become a significant security issue, and we love that neighborhood. It is a great place to live. It is a unique addition to the Turkey Creek community, and we think it's a real asset for everybody. Our plan all along, we don't know that it's 6 to 10 at night. Our plan, frankly, had been sunrise to sunset, that it would be open, and then it would be closed at night. We have provisions. Jim and the folks at Turkey Creek have gotten bids, quotes on systems that really do work. There are obviously systems that allow for emergency personnel to be coming in. We have rough budgets put together. We haven't budgeted in the last 6 or 7 months, but budgets have been put together. We know what the initial assessment roughly is going to be. We know what roughly an annual assessment is going to be in order to allow for an escrow to be built up, so that there are funds in place for ultimate repairs and maintenance. And we also understand that if in fact something tragic like a meteor or whatever hits the neighborhood, that we will be responsible for those streets in the interim prior to an escrow account being set up. We have been given a quote of roughly $75,000 to repave all of the streets. That is a reasonably recent quote. Our current plan that we have discussed, we haven't finalized it yet, but we would put in escrow about $18,000 to $19,000 a year for repairs and maintenance, and we do an initial assessment up front of about $750 a homeowner for a gate. This is a big issue to all of us who live there. We've obviously spent a good bit of money coming in there. Security and the amenities of the facility are really, really important to the vast majority of people who live there. And our intention all along is to give open access during the day, have full access to all of the paths. This is not covering up any of the pathways. So in terms of actual traffic flow from foot traffic, it'll be totally unaffected by this. It's very attractive, the initial design that we have. So we've really tried to think through both the aesthetic and the security advantages and the economic impact of doing this in the neighborhood, and we think we are in the position of a legitimate plan. I do not know that we will have unanimity. In fact, I expect that it's unlikely. I do know that we'll have the vast majority in favor of it, and it makes an awful lot of sense for that neighborhood. Anyone else want to comment?
I'm Justin Morgan. I live at 11328 Fords Cove Lane. Just a little bit about me. I am a licensed real estate broker. I've also been in development and construction for the last 7 years, so I've been dealing with these types of issues for quite a while. I've been in that subdivision for right at about 3 years. I was one of the first residents. I've had a big issue with security. I live off kind of by myself on Fords Cove. I'm the only house on that road. I have confronted teenagers, I don't know how many times, that doorbell ding and run, that break into our pool. There's actually somebody jumping our fence to get in our pool today that wasn't supposed to be there right before the meeting. That happens on a week-to-week basis. Unwanted traffic, I've walked up to people's cars when they're sitting there parked and asked them to leave. I've called the cops I don't know how many times. And I understand that, you know, once there's more construction, there's more people, that may start to subside. But how long is that going to take? We're in a depressed real estate economy that could take 5 to 10 years for us to really get developed. And as an owner and a resident of the town of Farragut, should I actually have to wait that long so that I can feel secure at my own place because of the traffic that we have? And I don't really think that's appropriate. There are other issues with the gated community. I understand you all don't want the roads private, and I understand that there's a lot of things that go along with that some homeowners may not like, but that can easily be worked around with good bylaws, good working, good homeowner association meetings. And when you go to closing now, the amount of paperwork you have to be given to close to know what happens in your homeowner association is extensive. I mean, it is an absolute packet. If you do not know what you're getting into when you purchase a home that has this type of homeowner association, then you have some real issues when you're buying a house that's this expensive. So I don't really see that as being an issue because of the length that our homeowner association goes through to put the things in front of you that everybody gets at closing. The amount of fees are not extensive compared to what we're already paying now, compared to our maintenance that we already do for our yards. You're looking at minimal amounts of money, considering the price and the quality of the homes. And I do really like the idea that Mr. Honkin brought up about not privatizing the roads. If that is your main issue, that you do not want the roads private, I would be completely open to keeping them public as long as we could have, the biggest thing is security at night for one. I'm probably on the complete far side of most everybody else. I'd like to have the gate closed every minute of every day where you have to have access through a clicker and that we closed off the walking trails. But that's not what everybody else wants to do. That's just me because we have a lot of also bad traffic from the walking trails. But I'm completely open to having everything still remain public, but we just have some kind of type of security at night, especially with the type of people we have coming in and parking in our streets. And as so far, no matter what we have done, that has not stopped, not slowed. And as Mr. Nixon said before, it only takes one of those types of people to make it a big issue for a homeowner. And I understand that you also think that that the subdivision is an asset of the community. I would respectfully disagree with that, the same as Bridgemore. I think that that subdivision and the amenities in it are an asset for the people who own it and who have invested in it, not so much the community. It is not public property, it is private property. And if the people who own the private property would like to let people from the public come in and use it, then that is fine, but it should not be mandatory in my opinion.